I moved into the apartment on Elm Street in the fall, hoping for a fresh start after a bad breakup. The place was old with high ceilings and creaky wooden floors, but it felt safe at first. I unpacked, filled the shelves, and hung my clothes in a walk-in closet bigger than I expected. The closet door was heavy, with a tarnished brass handle. The first sign something was wrong, the closet door wouldn't stay shut. I'd close it at night, hear the latch click, but every morning it was open. Just a crack. I blamed the old building, crooked frames, slanted floors. I even wedged a heavy book against the door, but it was always moved aside by morning. A cold spot lingered in front of the closet even on warm days. Walking through it sent a shiver down my spine. I tried to be rational. Checked the hinges, the latch, even used a level on the frame. Everything was fine. But every morning the door was open again. I told myself it was nothing, just the quirks of an old apartment, but the feeling wouldn't go away. The cold, the door, the unease, it all centered on that closet. I started to avoid looking at it at night. I tried to ignore the growing sense that something was watching me from the darkness. I believed in science, not ghosts, but the facts didn't add up. I was left with a puzzle I couldn't solve. The closet became a silent invitation I didn't want to accept. I started sleeping with the lights on. I told myself I was just tired, stressed from the move. But deep down, I knew something was wrong. The apartment was supposed to be my refuge. Instead, it felt like I was sharing it with something I couldn't see. I tried to convince myself it was all in my head, but every morning the door was open, just a crack, and the darkness inside seemed to be waiting for me. I stopped inviting friends over. I stopped feeling at home. The closet was always there, lurking at the edge of my vision. I wondered how long I could keep pretending nothing was wrong. I wondered what would happen if I stopped pretending. I wasn't sure I wanted to find out. The first time I woke up, it was the sound, the soft click of the closet latch. My phone glowed. 3:17 a.m. The closet door was open a few inches, a strip of darkness in the room. I closed it, tried to sleep, but the next night it happened again. Always at 3:17 a.m. Sometimes it was the click, sometimes a scraping sound, sometimes just the feeling of being watched. I started dreading the hour, knowing I'd wake to find the door open. I tried staying up, but always drifted off before 3:17. The ritual became a torment. I needed proof I wasn't losing my mind. Was I sleepwalking? Was it stress? I set up my phone to record the closet overnight. I felt ridiculous, but I had to know. The next morning the door was open as usual. My phone had recorded all night. I sat on the bed, hands shaking, and watched the footage. Hours of darkness sped by. 3:15, 3:16. Then, at exactly 3:17 a.m. something happened. The handle turned by itself. The door swung open just a few inches. No one was there. I replayed it, heart pounding. I turned up the volume. After the door opened, I heard it, a faint, raspy breath. The sound of someone or something breathing in my room. I felt sick. The proof didn't help. It made everything worse. I was alone with this knowledge. I couldn't tell anyone. I couldn't sleep. I left the lights on, sat on the sofa, and watched the bedroom door. Every creak made me jump. Every shadow seemed to move. I kept thinking about the video, the turning handle, the breathing, and the darkness waiting in the closet. The video was grainy but clear enough. At 3:17 a.m. the closet handle turned by itself. The door opened and a slow, raspy breath filled the silence. I watched it over and over, unable to deny what I saw. Something was in my closet. The evidence made it real, and terrifying. I couldn't show anyone. They'd think it was a trick. I was alone with the truth. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in the living room, lights blazing, listening for every sound. The breathing echoed in my mind. I felt watched, even in the brightest light. The apartment was no longer mine. It belonged to whatever was in that closet. I tried to rationalize, but the video haunted me. I started to dread the nights. I started to dread the closet. I wondered what would happen if I left the door open. I wondered what would come out. I stopped going into the bedroom unless I had to. I started sleeping on the sofa. I kept the closet door closed, but it didn't matter. Every morning it was open. The breathing seemed to follow me. I felt trapped. I felt hunted. I knew I couldn't stay much longer, but I didn't know how to leave. The closet was always waiting. The darkness inside seemed to grow deeper every night. I wondered if it would ever let me go. I wondered if I would ever be free. I started to fear I already knew the answer. The man in the closet was real, and he was waiting for me, always at 3:17 a.m. After the video, things escalated. A musty, sour smell seeped from the closet like old, rotting clothes and stale smoke. It was strongest in the morning, after the door had opened. I emptied the closet, searched every inch, nothing. The smell seemed to come from the wood itself, deep and ancient. I called the landlord, who dismissed it as old building smell. I realized I was on my own. My cat refused to enter the bedroom, hissing and growling at the closet. Animals sense things we can't. His fear made mine worse. The smell, the cold, the cat's terror. It all pointed to something real. I stopped sleeping in the bedroom. I started to dread the nights. The closet was no longer just a door. It was a boundary I was afraid to cross. I wondered what would happen if I did. I wondered if I'd ever find out. The apartment felt smaller every day. The smell never left. It clung to my clothes, my skin, my dreams. I knew I couldn't stay much longer, but I didn't know how to leave. The closet was always waiting. The dreams began, always the same. I'd be in bed, the closet door would swing open, and a tall, thin man in an old suit would stand there. His face was always in shadow, but I felt his eyes on me. I was paralyzed, unable to scream or move. The musty, suffocating smell filled the air. I'd wake up drenched in sweat, heart pounding, the closet door open a crack. The man was gone, but his presence lingered. I started fearing sleep, drinking coffee to stay awake. The line between dream and reality blurred. Sometimes I'd glimpse a tall shadow in the corner of my eye. Sometimes I'd hear that raspy breath when I was alone. I felt like I was losing my mind. Was the man real, or just my fear? I didn't know anymore. I only knew I was being haunted, in my apartment and in my own head. I stopped inviting people over, I stopped answering calls. I was alone with the man in the closet. I couldn't live in fear anymore. I decided to confront whatever was in the closet. I made coffee, set up a chair facing the closet, and turned on every light. I sat, waiting for 3:17 a.m. The hours crawled by. My nerves were raw, every sound making me jump. At 3:17, nothing happened. The handle didn't move. The door stayed shut. Relief washed over me. Then confusion. Why not tonight? Was it the lights? Was it because I was watching? I started to stand up, feeling foolish. That's when I heard it. The sound wasn't from the closet, it was behind me. A low, raspy breath. The cold spot surrounded me. I was frozen, terrified to turn around. But I had to. Slowly, I turned my head. And I saw him. The man from my dreams, standing in the corner watching the closet. I ran, never looking back. The man wasn't in the closet, he was in my room. Tall, impossibly thin face, a blur of shadow. He stared at the closet, not at me. The cold was overwhelming, the smell of decay thick in the air. I broke from my paralysis, screamed and bolted from the room. I didn't stop for keys, wallet, or shoes. I fumbled with the lock, hands shaking, and ran out into the night. I didn't stop until I was outside, gasping for air. I never went back. I left everything behind. I stayed with a friend trying to explain what happened. He didn't believe me. I didn't care. I just needed to be anywhere but there. I called the landlord, told him I was moving out. I never set foot on Elm Street again. I tried to put it behind me, but some things don't let go. The man in the closet was one of them. I started over in a new city, but the memory followed me. The fear never left. I still wake up at 3:17 a.m. Sometimes I see the closet door open, just a crack. I tell myself it's nothing, but I know better. Some doors never really close. Weeks later I saw a headline, "Mysterious Fire Guts Historic Elm Street Building." My old apartment was gone, destroyed in a blaze that started in my bedroom, near the closet. The fire burned with unusual intensity in that spot. The cause was never found. Everyone escaped, but the building was lost. I knew what started the fire. It wasn't an accident, it was him, the man in the closet. He burned the place down. I closed the laptop, hands trembling. I tried to move on, but the past clings to you. The fear, the memory, the darkness, they never really leave. I started over, but I was never the same. I still check the closet door every night. I still wake up at 3:17 a.m. I still feel watched. Some things follow you no matter how far you run. I learned that the hard way, and I never forgot. Years later in a new city I try to live a normal life, but some things you never leave behind. Sometimes I wake up at 3:17 a.m., heart pounding, feeling watched. My new closet is just a sliding door, but sometimes it's open, a dark gap in the reflection. I always check it before bed. I tell myself it's just the building settling, but I know better. I'm telling you this story as a warning. Be careful of old buildings. Be careful of dark closets. If you wake up at the same time every night, don't ignore it. Don't wait to see what's on the other side of the door. Just leave. Run. Some doors are better left unopened. Some things, once seen, can never be unseen. They will follow you, and you'll be looking over your shoulder for the rest of your life, waiting for the clock to strike 3:17, because the darkness never really goes away, it just waits, and sometimes, it finds you again. I hope you never have to find out what's waiting in the dark, but if you do, don't open the door.